Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ohio State at the Voice of College Football. Shout out to Jam. Um, yeah, but welcome to Ohio State Primetime Live here at Ohio State, the Voice of College Football. I'm your host, as always, Garrison. Usually at 7 p.m., but today we had to start a little bit late. My older sis, my little sister, and brother-in-law had to go to something tonight, and so of course, like the great uncle I am, I didn't volunteer myself. I was somewhat voluntold, as we say in the Navy, to watch him, which is always a good time. So doing a little bit of babysitting. He's sleeping now. Dog sitting stark at the moment. But yeah, welcome everybody. Glad to see you here. Jam, see you here, my friend. Glad to always see you here. Daniel Berry Sports highlights. As always, happy Monday. Hey guys, happy Monday to you too. So a few things we're gonna go over tonight's show. We're gonna talk about JSN in the Ohio State receiving room racking up, just backing up the Brinks truck. We're also going to talk about some notes that we from 11 Warriors, talking about some of the defensive players and some of the new guys. Also going to discuss just who is the best program at Ohio State, and some of the funny answers I saw there from a conversation that was happening on X. But before we do that, shout out to Rob. See you here, Robert Howard. Says evening, everyone. Hey, Jim, I'm working, so sound his formality at the moment anyway. Oh yeah, as you'll see in a few seconds here. You'll see in a few seconds. Shout out to Jam, man. She's like my co-producer here. But yeah, but first, before we start, everybody, we're gonna start. I've done this a couple weeks, but we have an opening monologue today, and today's opening monologue, folks, it's a very simple one. It's something that I think really needs to ring in the ears of some Ohio State fans. I really believe it needs to. And the reason I believe it needs to is because what it does sometimes with this thing we're about to talk about, what it does sometimes is that it puts a battery in the back of certain types of fans. And it frustrates me to no end. But what we're going to start here with is the opening monologue, and it's stop playing favorites. Now, what do I mean by stop playing favorites? Well, the background of this is, there was a tweet. I don't have to call anybody out, but there was a tweet that came out, or a post on X, I guess you call it. Now, it went out, and my problem with the tweet was that it basically, I don't want to say it tears down other players on the team, but what it naturally does is that you're basically saying these other guys don't have a chance, so they shouldn't be playing over these guys, or etc. And so I just a few notes I have here. It's like, you can't sit here and say that guys are going to play and guys are not going to play without any confirmation or without any proof of the matter or of the sort. Um Especially when it comes off as bias, or in all reality you are being biased and when you're saying it. Because there's no tape that would prove that. There's no there's nothing in the spring as of right now that would tell you that. You're not getting word from anybody that would tell you that. Not within the Woody, because everything that's coming out the Woody is the opposite of everything that you believe. Also, on top of that, there's nothing that would even give you confirmation bias to think so. Like, if you had confirmation bias on a take, on a player or anything, and don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. All right, I'm sure I've done this before, but I try my damnedest not to do this. When you sit here and you say that other players should be starting over other players with nothing to back up what you're saying, it is just an emotional take. And maybe, and you know what? Maybe you're projecting. And there's nothing wrong with projecting the outcome of what you think may happen. But if you're going to say that, I really, really, really need to hear the why. Because if you don't have the why, it's whatever you say is null and void. And if you end up being right, then kudos. Kudos. And honestly, what we have to talk about later here, we're going to talk about which kind of like the take that I saw basically said that by the end of the year that two linebackers will be starting. And one of them I wasn't even mad about. I mean, honestly, I can care less about who starts. I've been very adamant on this. I can care less who starts at Ohio State as long as we are putting the best players out there and putting the right guys out there, putting the most productive guys out there. But at some point it comes off fanboyish. It really does. it it really does, because I need real reasons, and I need to know the why on why you believe things. Like I've said this back when Bryce and I, shouts to my guy Bryce, but I said this then, and I'll say it now. I'm never going to come out and just openly lie. That's not what I'm gonna do. Now, I may have a line of thinking that differs from yours, or that you may think is wrong, and I have no problem with that. You know, when you go through opinions, that's fine. You know, now some things are just fact, but when you talk about opinions on what you feel about a player, things of that nature, I understand, or just takes you may have. But my thing is, I'm never going to just lie to the audience. That's what you can't do. Or I'm not going to try and say things without having some type of just thought process behind it. It's almost like saying 3 plus 2 equals 6, but you have no reason on why. You have no reason on why 3 plus 2 equals 6. A, just doesn't make sense, and A is just not true, right? Even more so, every fan base has this. Every fan base has a lunatic fringe. I'm gonna separate the lunatic fringe from these people. Your goofballs who will go out there and attack the players, attack the coaches. I've always said I have no problem with being critical of your program, but right now we're talking about Ohio State. I have no problem with anybody being critical of Ohio State. I'm critical of Ohio State when I believe it's necessary. I'm not going to sunshine pump, but I'm critical when need be. But we all know those people that go out there and they are continuously negative, or they continuously have a stick up their arse because nothing is perfect for them. For some odd reason, they believe college football is supposed to be perfect, and that everything that comes out of your football program has to be perfect, and every outcome that comes from your football program has to be perfect. That's not reality. And they shit on players for the sake of it. And one of those players just happens to be Christian Allegro from Wisconsin. And multiple times I have said, and honestly, coming off of the tweet, I mean, I wouldn't call it shitting on him, but there are a lot of people from last season. And if I went on X right now and typed in this player's, I'm going to say his name, and typed in Peyton Pierce's name, you will see I'm in group chats that do the same thing. You will see an influx of fanatics, because that's what we are, fanatics, who just shit on Peyton Pierce, and I have no idea why. No idea why. Played really good last year, and then every player gets beat. Every player does something wrong on the field, but he played very good for the time he had on the field. I would say the same thing for other players around the team who were backups. Or just on the second or third string. When they got in there, some players did well, some players didn't. Yeah, it honestly annoys the shit out of me. I can't put into words how much it annoys me when I see fans. And don't get me wrong, man. At some point, there was an offensive lineman at Ohio State last year where I even decided I'm going to stop saying his name and his number because I didn't feel right just going about talking negatively about the player. Because he's a younger guy than I am. First off, that hits me first, and I can be critical of his play, but at some point I was getting really frustrated watching him play football, and I couldn't help myself but just to hammer on him. But there's nothing wrong though when it comes to coming out of the spring and sitting back and waiting to see what these players become. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And you know, and I get it, man. People, we root for the Buckeye. We root for some of the players on the team. I have been a big fan of Jermaine Matthews ever since I got to see his first game in college when he got the pick six. I was a big fan of Mylan Graham, and now he's at Notre Dame. But what I did about with Mylan Graham, yeah, I could be critical of him last year. He had alligator arms. Do I still think he's immensely talented? Yeah. Do I still wish he was at Ohio State? Yeah, I do. But that doesn't. But with that, just because I loved Mylan Graham, had an argument before the season started last year. And I was backing Mylan Graham up, thinking that he's probably gonna play more than Brandon Ennis. As the season went on, I'm wrong. I was wrong on that. He wasn't bad. He wasn't better than BI. I can care less if they play two different positions. He wasn't better than BI. I trusted Brandon Ennis out there more than I did Mylan. But just because I was a huge fan of Mylan from the time he was in high school does not mean that I'm gonna go out there and just say, "Oh, he's gonna do this, oh, he's gonna do that," in the year end, and then when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And also maybe it's because I don't have personal relationships, and there's nothing wrong with having that. There's nothing wrong with having personal relationships with players on the team, with parents on the team, with staffers on the team. But what you can't do when you have that is then just fanboy it out. You can't do that because you don't even know if said player is better than this said player. And if they are, good for them. As I said earlier, I want the best players to play. But just because you got no, I'm not going to say that. But yeah, it's just you can't do that and let your fans, your relationships, cloud something that you like. You got to be even kill. You got to be even kill. Especially if you're going to go out and talk on your shows. And again, I'm talking about myself too here. And I'm going to try to hold myself accountable when I do this. I'm going to do my best to do so. But you can't let relationships then go for you. You can't use those relationships to go then push a narrative. That's the best way I can say. You can't use relationships to push narratives. Because if you do things like that, you end up like people like whatever. That's all right. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about it, man. Just listen, man. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan, and I'm sure you guys are too. Cheer for the Buckeyes. And if the better player takes position, cool. And also what I hate sometimes is when people think they know more than the coaches. Like there's situations where a player is playing over somebody else, and sometimes, like last year at the right guard spot. Well, actually, let's be honest, I don't know who was better at right guard last year in all reality, but they'll ask, why isn't this player playing? Why are they playing over them? Why is he playing behind him? There's usually a reason for that, guys. And the chances are the people that are in the room, the people that are the position coaches that are with them at 24/7 almost, no more. What's up, buddy? No more than what you know about this team. Everybody say a Stark. All right. So that's that. That's my monologue, everybody. And again, it's not to take shots at anybody. It's just because it's not just a certain person. It's not just two people. It's not 4 people or 5 people. It's a lot of people that do this, and it really frustrates me. Trust me, to no end. But let's move on here, everybody. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe. If you like the content that we bring to you here, go ahead and share. If you're watching on X, also hit the like button, quote, retweet it. Does a lot for us. And also hit that hype button, gets to the algorithm. Appreciate you guys and everything that you guys do for us here at the Voice of College Football and at Ohio State, the Voice of College Football, presented by FanDuel. So next, everybody, big news coming out of the NFL. And here what we're going to do is that when a Buckeye hits a marker, I mean, listen, he already won the Super Bowl, but when he hits a marker like this, you got to celebrate it, because the only thing that this does is help recruiting. That's the only thing that this help does. And Jackson Smith-Njigba is now the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history in today's game. I love Jamar Chase. I've been calling Jamar Chase the best wide receiver in the NFL for a few years now. I love Justin Jefferson. I love what he does on the field. But as of today, whether you look at the stats, whether you look at the ring, and whether you look at the money, Jackson Smith and Jigba is the best wide receiver in the NFL. And as of right now, take CC out of it. Take Chris Carter out of this because he's a Hall of Famer. He's in his own world. He's in his own chair, he's by himself, own universe. But since CC, since Chris Carter, since 2, this is the best wide receiver to ever come out of Ohio State. He's the best wide receiver to ever come through Ohio State since Chris Carter. And let's read these here. Jackson Smith and Jigba. So becomes the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL history. This comes shout out to the Silver Bulletin. This comes from them. But Jason becomes the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history with Seattle's $186.6 million extension of Jackson Smith and Jigba, making him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. Ohio State wide receivers in the NFL have signed current contracts worth $482.84 million. So what does that mean? Once Cardinal Tate gets drafted, that will send Ohio State receivers currently in there as a collective over $500 million. $500 million. $500 million. And I mean, shout out to Brian Hartline too, because he has his hand in this. He is a big part in this. Everybody can sit here and say, okay, well, yeah, you had Jackson Smith and Jigba. But people forget. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. was a 4-star. He was a blue chip recruit, but he wasn't some top tier receiver. In fact, he was in the 20s coming out of high school. Chris Olave, Zach Smith has a part in him too. Good grief, kid. All right, I gotta get rid of the dog for a little bit, but sorry about that, everybody. But good grief. Chris Olave was a 3-star receiver. And if you don't know the story, before Chris Olave got to Ohio State, he wasn't even the player that was originally being watched there. He just happened to be on the same team, and Ohio State offered him. Shout out to Garrett Wilson, Marv and all those guys, man. I mean, Terry McLaurin, that comes from a different time, and shout out to Zach on that one too. But just when you look at what Ohio State receivers have done in the NFL, and it's not just recently. I mean, this is now spanning on since the 80s. It's really amazing. And I think that now, just like how I believe Ohio State football is at, we've seen the golden era since the Tressel days, now leading into where I believe we are just now going towards I don't want to say a peak, because that means you can do nothing but fall down, but you're at the precipice of it. I think the same thing when it comes to Ohio State wide receivers in the NFL and even in college, but coming out of Ohio State and then going to the league and seeing what they're doing there and all the records they're breaking. I mean, people forget that even Michael Thomas has an NFL record. Ohio State receivers have been nothing short of great. Nothing short of it. And shout out to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Because I mean, truth be told, his time at Ohio State was cut short with that injury against Notre Dame, and then kind of rushed back and then got injured again and sat out the rest of the season. Leading into, but that was after that great season he had with Chris Olave and Gary Wilson and C.J. Stroud, and he led the team in receiving receptions and in yards, and then of course we all remember the big game he had against Utah in the Rose Bowl, giving us the greatest Rose Bowl performance, if not one of, at least top 3 at the worst. But yeah, I mean, he completely deserves this, and especially if you read on about the man he is, for me personally, the godly man he is also. I mean, he deserves nothing less than this. And shout out to Jackson Smith and Jigba, proud Buckeye, and Can't wait to see what else you do in the league, champ. But before we continue, everybody, we had to do a quick message here from the voice of college football. Get your business, product, service, or personal brand to the next level by partnering with the voice of college football, and let's discuss how you also can reach your target market. Check out the experience of over our current partners, that being Win Agency posted here on the screen, and our friends over at FanDuel. And just like them, we're here to deliver for you. Contact us at sponsorships at vocfb.com. Again, that is sponsorships at vocfb.com today. So let's continue here. I do want to read this. There's some camp notes. This is coming from 11 Warriors. And I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff in this article, but I picked out just a few things that I wanted to talk about that I thought you guys should hear about. Again, this is all about the defense here. And again, shout out to 11 Warriors. Give them the credit on this. This comes all these notes come from them that I'm about to read from you. But let's get started here. First things first, this is coming from about Quay Russo, and they say Quay Russo, who was more of a hybrid linebacker than a true defensive end at Alabama, but showed plenty of explosiveness and power in his first two practices as a Buckeye. Real strong, real quick. Jackson said of what impressed him about Russo, and that being Kenyatta Jackson, who was speaking about him. And I'm really excited to see what he brings to this defense. Also, and how Matt Patricia uses him, which we'll talk about here later. But Quay, if you don't know, highly touted guy coming out of high school as a defensive end / linebacker, of course, now just a pure edge rusher. And I think that what he brings to Ohio State is something that we haven't had in some time, or even what I can remember. He's somewhat of a different version of good grief. I can't remember his name right now, but I mean, you look at what Ohio State's have the last few years. Big, lumbering defensive ends. I'm talking 6'4", 6'5", 255, 260. I mean, even JTT was 270. So, I mean, we've been used to having these big guys play on the edge, not really having hybrid guys that can do it. But now we have Quay, and he's a stockier guy, not as lengthy as a Sonny Styles would be, right? But he's more on the edge. He's really stocky, really quick, shorter arms, but I think that can help him coming off the edge maybe a little bit. I mean, I prefer my defensive ends, my football players specifically on the defensive line and the O-line to have longer arms. But I think because of the explosiveness and the power he has at the collegiate level, it can really help him. So yeah, really good notes right there from them. Next, talk about Smith, also from Bama. Says Smith, who's listed at 6'2", 314 pounds. Mind you, everybody, coming to Ohio State, he was 295, I believe. 290, 295. But still, the most physically among Ohio State's defensive tackles during the portions of practice that were open to the media. Jackson said he was impressed by the athleticism of both Smith and Walker, who came over from UCF, defensive tackle, 6'4", 320 or something, 330. Big guy, big guy. During the first two practices, saying they move really well during bag drills. What I've really loved about Ohio State over the last few years now is that we have continuously gotten or made our defensive tackles gotten big, made them large guys. Now, some of them they came that way. Tyleek somewhat came that way. He was under 300 coming in. McDonald, he was a big boy coming out of high school. You could tell that he could put some size on. What we didn't know is that he was going to get taller, so that really did help him at Ohio State. But guys like Smith and James Smith and guys like Walker, I think that I would not be surprised. No, notice here how I'm not saying they are going to start or I want them to start, but I wouldn't be surprised if those two started. I really wouldn't. Um, I, Look, I mean, Edric Houston. If he's more consistent, I would love him out there because I think he's just more versatile, and I think that you can put him anywhere on the defensive line. You can put him at edge. You can have him at two tackle. You can have him go towards the middle. I think you can even put him at nose tackle if you really wanted to, if you needed to, like on a third down, and you just wanted some speed in the middle instead of a bigger guy up there. But you gotta see him be more consistent. And of course, like I've always said, I give guys the benefit of the doubt, and I'm looking forward to seeing him do that here in his junior year, especially after playing as much as he did in his freshman year and starting last year as a defensive tackle for Ohio State on the best defense in the country. I want to see more out of you. But those two guys right there, I mean, they're huge, and they're especially Walker with how tall he is. I think that they could be a very big force together. And even with Edric, those guys can be a force in the middle for this defensive line, this defensive line unit, especially being in the middle for this Ohio State team going against the run, which this year for Ohio State, we're going to face a lot of teams that can run the ball. We're going to face Texas. We're going to face Oregon, who I believe with Georgia has the best running back room in the country. They have strong running backs. We're going to face teams like the Wolverines and the Indianas and the Iowas, teams that want to run the ball. So it's very important that for Ohio State this year, and honestly, when hindsight is 2020, but looking back on it, getting these two guys out of the portal, everybody's asking, oh yeah, but who are they? What have they done? It's very big that you get guys that played a lot of football, especially guys like Walker, that can come in here and play right away, and they're also big bodies. So I think that also bodes well for Ohio State this upcoming season. Next, let's get the linebacker. All right, so they said Peyton Pierce looks like a lock. Let's say it again. Peyton Pierce looks like a lock to be Ohio State's new starting Mike linebacker. Christian Allegro begins spring as a favorite to be Ohio State starting will linebacker. Allegro's top competition for the job, Riley Pettyjohn. Not surprised right there because Riley's gonna be a dog. He's and if he's not. And when I say he's gonna be, I don't mean his junior season. I mean, I think this year he's gonna be a dog. I think Riley Pettyjohn is a player that you can't keep off the field, and we saw that in his freshman season. You couldn't keep him off the field. You had to put him out there at some point during, whether it be middle of the game or at the end of the game. You want to get him on the field because you need guys like him to get those live reps. And I was really happy about how much they played him. So no surprise there with him being Christian Allegro's biggest competition. Peyton Pierce being a lock-in for that spot, that does not surprise me at all because Peyton Pierce can play football. He can play linebacker. Going on here, the expectation is that some combination of Pierce, Allegro, and Pettyjohn will be Ohio State's top 3 linebackers this year. No surprise. But there are several additional players to watch at the position this spring. Second-year linebacker TJ Alford, who was also seen taking first-team reps in week 1. In quotations here, this is coming from Ryan Day, has really had a chance to step up, Day said. Redshirt sophomore Garrett Stover is another candidate for increased playing time this season after earning Iron Buckeye honors for winter workouts. And if Stover is winning that, I believe he's gonna find his way on the field at some point during the season. Of course, I think the top 3 guys are kind of ironed out. It's Pierce, Allegro, and Pettyjohn. But the other guys there, TJ Alford. I mean, if you look at him, I mean, coming out of high school, I mean, he was a top 10, top 15, depending on where you look. Linebacker coming out of high school, a lot of potential there. He's put on some size, very athletic. So I think he's someone else that you really want to see. If anything, guys like him, guys like Garrett Stover, I want to see them excel in special teams. Kind of like the same way a lot of Ohio State Buckeyes have done. If you go out there, I see you like actually be productive on special teams. In my eyes, I believe that you can, or my mind, I believe you can be productive when your time comes to play. When your time comes to play, I believe you can do that. So really cool to hear about those guys again. I think Ohio State right now, has the best linebacker unit in college football. At least one of them. I mean, outside of Georgia, I don't think anybody else really competes with Ohio State right now. And again, for anyone that has not watched Christian Allegro, you can go on there and go 2.5, 3 minute film or highlight film watch of his. He dealt with the injury last year. If anybody tells you that he lost his spot because and I listen, and I would fight anyone tooth and nail on this. Any Buckeye fan that says this, because Wisconsin fans I can care less about. If any Buckeye fan is sitting here telling you that he lost his spot because he got beat up by the other two young guys, that is not true. He dealt with the injury all season. He played with the cast against Ohio State, rocked our shit all game on our run game, all game. Played well throughout the season, but dealt with an injury. But if you're going to deal with an injury, you have to understand guys are going to get playing time, and you got to give credit to those guys that go out there and play well, and they take your spot. That's going to happen. The best ability is availability. So for Christian Allegro coming to Ohio State, look, you already have a lot of talent behind you. You can't get. It's not about getting injured. You can't get hurt, because if you're hurt, you still might leave the field. I would also say if you're hurt, that probably means you can still play. But that's another conversation for another day. Finishing off here about the linebackers, says, and there's already, oh my gosh, man. And there's already plenty of buzz around 5-star freshman Sincere Johnson, who looks the part of a potential immediate contributor. Ohio State has seldom rotated past its top 3 linebackers in recent seasons, but the Buckeyes look like they should have the depth to do so if desired this year, with as many as 6 linebackers making legitimate case for playing time. And that right there, guys, is why I like the top 3 guys I understand. But anybody else in that room, man, it's hard for me to see them getting a lot of playing time. It's just too many guys in that room. A lot of those guys are going to have to find their spots or their spots in special teams. Maybe make yourself like a tool guy in a sense of where I would say guys like Sincere Johnson. He's the same, but maybe bigger. Yeah, he's bigger than Quay Russo. So I mean, maybe he can be an edge rusher, come up there, come on their third down, say, "Hey, Sincere, look, man, it's one of those games against you're beating the crap out of a team in the second or third quarter. You put him in there, say, hey, go get the quarterback." I mean, hell, we did that a few times at Page on. We just put him out there and say, hey, go make a play, and he did. I mean, he has a touchdown last year. It was a fumble recovery, but still a touchdown. So yeah, I'm really confident in this linebacker group. Again, I think it's right there with Georgia. It's the best, if not Ohio. I would say Ohio State's linebacker room, as far as I know, and I'll have to do more research on Georgia. My Georgia boys can probably talk to them about that here soon. But I think it's the deepest linebacker room in the country. And when you look at from the top to the bottom, especially when you look at what the linebacker room can be in terms of talent, it goes through the roof. It goes straight through the roof. And I think when you have a guy like TJ Alford in there, you have a guy like Sincere Johnson, that just goes to show how much talent is in that room and just where this room can really go. I don't know if I want them rotating too much, but if need be, of course, like you said, we can do that. The Ohio State linebacker room can go and do that if need be. And then just overall, Dave said this about the defense. He said, deeper than we've been. I'm sorry, for corners when assessing the cornerback room. I don't know. Maybe. I would have to see what we get out of hold up a second, because I know I'm just gonna forget his name. I already know I'm gonna forget his name, so it's just better for me to look it up. What we get out of Cam Calhoun. Guys like Dominic Kelly, I have a lot of confidence in. I think today he's a better corner, in my opinion. From what I know, he's a better corner today, I would say, than Cam Calhoun. But Cam Calhoun has played football. He's a tenured guy, senior this year. So I mean, I believe he's a senior this year. Redshirt junior. Wow. No, so he's got another year for Ohio State. We'll see if he stays. Would love for him to stay because now he's a Buckeye. He's an Ohio kid, so that is cool for him too. But the cornerback room being deeper. I mean, of course, you bring back Matthews, you bring back Devin Sanchez, who I think is going to be a complete monster in college football. I think that in his second year, he he could possibly be one of the players that shuts down a whole side of the field. I really believe that about Devin Sanchez, and so maybe this cornerback room might be deeper than it has before. I mean, we got guys like Jordan Thomas that are true freshmen, really talented guys. There's been great things coming out about him. So we'll see, especially about Jordan Thomas coming out of the winter workouts. So I would love to hear how he's bringing that into the spring, and then you want to see how he brings that into the fall because he may be needed. Even though Ohio State has safeties that I believe are interchangeable in there, a lot of guys that we can move around like Little Junior. I still want to see what some of those younger guys can do early in the season, not against Texas. We got those. That's top 2 spots. That's it. Maybe a few other guys, but I don't see Ohio State going the third string in that game at all. But I think the cornerback room could be deeper, but I'm not gonna say Ryan Day's lying. I'm just not sure of it yet. But I just want to see it. I'm waiting to see more like I am for most things. But yeah, that right there is on the defense right there. Everything that came from 11 Warriors. Again, everybody, if you haven't already, go ahead and check them out. Go to their website and you can see it there. Again, if you haven't already, everybody, please go ahead and hit the like button. If you like the content that we bring to you here, also subscribe. You can check out myself on Mondays, usually at 7 p.m. Mark Rogers, 4 p.m. on Wednesdays, and then again the call-in show on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All these are Eastern Standard Time if you did not know. But next I want to lead into this, and this is coming right off the back of the defense and what to expect of Matt Patricia this year. And I think that the conversation is important is because he's now the highest paid coordinator in college football. So outside of head coaches, no one else is paid more than no one else, and it's quite deserved. It's deserved. I mean, just like almost any other job you take in any field. I mean, when you produce and you're coming in with a quite frankly a resume that no one else in your position has in your field, which is college football. No defensive coordinator, no head coach. Well, except for Bill Belichick, but no head coach. And yeah, outside of Bill Belichick, no one has the resume that he has. Coming, some a lot of coaches have national championships, but I don't know if a national championship is more important than as a D coordinator at the Super Bowl. I think that's a great conversation to have. I probably should have that conversation soon. I probably should bring Chris on to have that conversation. I think I will. But yeah, what are the expectations of coming last year's defense? You had the number 1 defense in the country, and now you're replacing huge pieces. You lose Caden Curry, you lose Caleb Downs, you lose your linebacker core, you lose your all-star defensive tackle and Caden McDonald. But you bring back guys like Kenyatta Jackson Jr., who a lot of expect. There's a lot of people. I mean, I would say that the expectations are close to Matt Patricia's in terms of player to coach, like what I'm expecting out of him. I would exactly, Steve. I would agree. I would agree. This year will tell me more about Patricia, and as much credit as listen, I'm not going to sit here. Here, I'll finish off here. I'll finish it off here. But I agree. I agree, Steve. This year is definitely going to tell me more about Matt Patricia. But also with the changing of the players, you're bringing an influx of new guys. Two new safeties. You're bringing a new linebacker. You're bringing in 2 new defensive tackles. You're bringing in a new edge rusher. So and all these guys are expected to play. You brought in a new corner in Dominic Kelly. So there's a lot expected now from each level of the team. Corner maybe not as much because Dominic Kelly's not going to be a starter for Ohio State, at least not expected to be a starter for Ohio State. But at every other position, you have new guys in these roles. Maybe not edge rusher because Zion Grady will be starting there. And so when you look at that, what are your expectations as a fan coming into this year? Now, mine personally, I want Matt Patricia to have a top 3 to top 5 defense in the Big Ten. That's first off. I mean, and that I mean that means outside of like the Oregons of like a Oregon or a or say an Iowa, say a who else I think is going to have a good defense in the Big Ten this year? Oregon. I think Indiana will have a pretty decent defense, but I expect them to fall off a little bit because I don't think they have the talent depth that Ohio State has, or I don't think they brought in the players that Ohio State brought in on defense. But outside of that, I mean, if you fall out of top 3, I'd probably be a little upset for this Ohio State defense. Nationally, I'm expecting somewhere between 12 to 20. That would be a safe space for me. Now, if 20 sounds bad to you, I do want to remind you guys there are 134 football programs in college football. If you are the top 20 in anything, you are relatively damn good at it. If you're at passing yards, if you're in rushing yards, if you're in interceptions, if you're in any statistical category, if you are top 20, you are relatively good. Red zone, etc. So, I mean, a top 10 defense, what I would love. And I think Ohio State can be a top defense this year. But for me, a lot of it is just riding on continuity of the defense and what things look like with Matt Patricia. And also, how are you going to conduct the talent on your team? How are you going to use Quay Russo? How are you going to rotate guys? Look, Zion Grady and Kenyatta Jackson Jr. cannot play every single snap. How are you going to use Ebisini Tele? How are you going to use guys like Quay Russo? How are you going to use guys like Riley Pettyjohn and maybe even a TJ Alford or someone like a Christian Allegro, who I think is better served blitzing and on the edge and not in coverage? I would prefer Riley Pettyjohn be on that just based off of what I've seen from Christian Allegro and Riley Pettyjohn. I think a lot of these guys have, I would say, so for lack of words, specialties that they are good at compared to the other guys on the team. Guys like Edric Houston, I think he's a better pass rusher in the middle than James Smith is going to be or Walker is going to be. John Walker, that be. That's just my opinion on it. So that's one thing I'm really interested to see. Also with the secondary, how do you use those guys? I would also say, who is the leader on your defense? It's a twofold question. Who's the leader? Because I think it's one thing to be a leader, like Caleb Downs is a leader, and we all know that. We all know that he was a leader. But I would say the leader of the defense was Sonny Styles. I think that Sonny was the catalyst for that defense and how it went. And then I would say 1A, 1B, Caleb Downs. But let's put those two together. Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles as the leaders. But then I would ask, probably even more importantly, who is conducting your defense on the field? You see, because I know Matt Patricia can do what he does in the booth, but he is not the one putting those. Like last year, and everyone in the secondary said it. The guy that was getting them in position, and also other spots on the team too, was Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs was Matt Patricia on the field. That's a fact. And I really want to know who that guy is going to be this season. I mean, it's gonna. I personally think it's tough to ask a guy like Earl Little Jr. to come in first year as a Buckeye and do that. I think it's hard to ask Terry Moore to come in his first year as a Buckeye and do that. So is it going to be you, Jermaine? Is it going to be you, Devin Sanchez? Is it going to be Jalen McClain? And that's the person who I would prefer it be. Why? Because he's at safety. I think Jalen McClain is better served playing in the role that Caleb Downs played last year. He's a sure tackler. He's a really good tackler, actually. Not just a sure one. He's a really good tackler. He can play in coverage. He can be sticky. He can come up in the run game. I really believe he should be that guy. But is he? I don't know. And of course, you got to wait to hear from the coaches, from guys, or actually the teammates. Caleb Downs, and we heard from the teammates. And I believe what the coaches say more times than not. But when the players tell me something about their teammate, I'm going to believe it. I'm going to believe it. So those are the two big questions I would have for this defense right now is just who's the leader, who's conducting the defense on the field, and then also how are you putting guys in position to be great? Or are you? And are you and how are you going to do it? That's a better way to say it. How are you are you and how are you going to do it? Yeah, said it right there. Cool. So that's that right there, everybody. Yeah, I'm really excited for this defense, man. I think that a lot of people, when it came out of the portal, everyone was a little down. Excuse me. And everybody wanted some big hitters, and I did too. I'm not gonna lie to you. But then when you do your research on these guys, and again, you're getting guys that have played a lot of football and have been highly productive. You can understand why Ohio State wanted them. And even more so, and I think this should click with the fans even more. These guys wanted to come to Ohio State. These guys wanted to be Buckeyes. Other guys in the portal had chances to be Buckeyes. These guys chose to be. And by the way, because this came out for some of the players, I'm not gonna say who, but you can look at what you want. They were given some guys were given higher price tags from other teams. They chose to be Buckeyes. And I think that is what should matter most. Well, to end the show, everybody, the last minutes that we have here, 10 minutes that we have here, this is something that I wanted to bring up first. But before we do that, everybody, please make sure that if you have not, you should definitely be go up and sign up at FanDuel. Do it right now. It's really quick and easy. If you're not a big gambler, everybody, listen. I'll tell you what I did when I first started. I went on there and I just, added a quick $10, $20. Listen, man. You spend $10 or $20 in worse place. You probably do that at the bar. It's better served here. At least here, you can actually get some get back from the $10 or $20. You're not gonna get anything but a hangover from the beer you buy at the bar with $10 or $20. So go over and check out FanDuel, everybody. Where right now you can check out all the betting lines up for the Wednesday's games for the tournament, Wichita, Tulsa, St. Joseph, New Mexico, Illinois, Dayton. And listen, if you're a Big Ten person, like in the basketball world, unlike football, I'm a Big Ten guy. Like if you don't know who my team is, go check my X Buckeye_GDG. You will quickly find out who my team is in the Big Ten in basketball. But go ahead and check out our friends over at FanDuel, everybody. Again, if you must be 18 or older, 21 or older to do so. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. So let's end the show here, everybody. There was a big conversation going on. I won't say a big conversation, but Josh Pate posted something on X, and of course, it made some headlines. A few people wanted to give their opinions, if you would like to call them that, on who is the best program at Ohio State. I said the best program at Ohio State. Well, there's your answer, folks. We all know who the best program is in college football. It's Ohio State. And I love this conversation because the conversation is today. And I love this conversation because you get to see what people really think about you. You really get to see it. And you really get to see the hate, the vitriol, the blasphemy that comes out about Ohio State. And it's understandable. It really is. We always win. And when I say we always win, I don't mean we always win the championship, but we win a lot of games. No one's more consistent than we are when it comes to winning outside of Alabama. Like, unless you're listen, Alabama fans, this is not for you right now. This is not for you right now. But in 5 seconds, it's going to turn against you. I get it. that Ohio State fans can sometimes come off as arrogant and as cocky. In fact, I have been told plenty of times that I am probably one of the most arrogant Ohio State fans you are ever going to meet. And I'm okay with that. I really am. And the reason is because it's like I have a reason to be. Like Alabama fans, I have no problem. I had no problem with them saying what they were saying while they were dominating the college football world. I had no problem with it. But then you get to today, and Alabama has fallen off. I want to remind everybody because like Alabama over the last 2 seasons has 8 losses, half of which have come from unranked teams. So when you talk about the best program today, we knock you down. Georgia. And listen, I respect the Georgia program. I think that it's the second best program right now in the country. Georgia has not won a playoff game in 3 years. 3 años. So it's hard for me to say that right now they're better than us. Okay, now let's talk about Indiana. No, they won the championship. They get all my respect, all of it. They're not a better program than Ohio State. And actually, let me shout out my boy College Football with Sam real quick. That's my guy. Indiana is not a top 3 program in college football. They are not. And this is the reason why I say so. This isn't coming to Sam, but this is why, when people talk about who are the best program in college football, this is why people forget everything that entails in this. You're talking about money. You're talking about facilities. You're talking about infrastructure. You're talking about consistency. You're talking about leadership from the top on down, from the AD on down. You're talking about fan base. You're talking about collectives. All these things. NFL draft power. How many players are you sending to the league? I mean, you see what Ohio State's doing, bro. If you're a wide receiver, if you're in high school right now, if you want to make money, come to Ohio State. And if you're going to be a receiver, come to Ohio State. But you look at all those things, and it's hard. And also, you have to have one of the top coaches. Ryan Day is a top 3 coach in this game, championship coach. Right now, Ohio State is the clear front runner as the best program in college football, and it's not close. And so what I want to do here is, I want to show you guys this because this goes to show the delusion that goes on in this sport from if you're not one of these fans, if you're not one of these people, if this is not you, don't worry about it. The shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. Okay. But let's just go through some of these comments here. And the cool thing is, my algorithm, you're going to see the Buckeyes first. Dex, he gets it right. Shout out to official DG for just being a douche. Says Texas, they don't care about trophies, no state income tax. Okay with being relevant. Wait, just gotta repost that. But we're gonna scroll down here because this is where the fun stuff goes. Shout out to Mark Rogers. Says mine. You know what that means? He's a Buckeye, everybody. If you don't know, Chase Smith, a firehead coach. That's hilarious. So, and shout out to Balls only. He wasn't bad to talk to at all. But he says, to me, it's Oregon. It says, ridiculous resources and the most lucrative brand deal in the land by a mile. You will always have everything needed to win championships. I'm going to read that again. You will always have everything needed to win championships year over year. They're not the only place like that, but to me, it's the easiest sell. And I quickly just come in and I say Ohio State has the biggest brand deal with Nike by the way. And of course, and he gives a good point. He says, brother, you know what I'm talking about. And I do. Phil Knight, blase, blase, blah. But then there's this. And this is what I'll say to any other person that says LSU, Alabama, Georgia, or BFE. Are brought up in terms of the best program. So then my question becomes, what does Oregon have that Ohio State doesn't have in abundance, and it continues to? There is nothing that any program has more than Ohio State. Like in terms of as a collective. If you have more money than us, fine. There's only one or two that does, and that's Texas and Texas A&M, I believe. Outside of that, no one else. No one else. I mean, oh man, let's look at the other ones here. LSU, the only P4 program without a second in-state P4 school to compete with in recruiting talent. Like, but he's backfired against his own argument. It's just here comes Malik Zaire, Notre Dame head coach. Now I will say this because this says best program, right? Oh, best job. Yeah, it's the best job. I still think it's Ohio State. I used to think it was Notre Dame because Notre Dame, with everything that entails in it and like the way it's viewed, and no one really knows how much money you're getting paid. So I guess that's really cool too. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I also said that for a long time because I'm a Brian Kelly fan because of where I come from and what he means to the West Michigan community. But so I'm very biased. I'm very biased, but that's why I always said it. But no, he says has to be Texas A&M, right? Has the resources, money, which is the same thing, stadium, fans, and tradition of a blue blood without the trophies and expectations that come with that. What the hell is that? A tradition of a blue blood without the trophies and expectations. LSU or Texas is a toss-up for me. Honorable mention is Florida. See, here we go. Notre Dame, Ohio State. I can respect that. That's what I would say. I would say those two jobs. Miami. Okay. Just as a reminder, everybody, if you didn't know, it's 2000. Okay. It's March 23rd, 2026, year of our Lord, and Duke football won a ACC championship before before Miami did. Just gotta remind everybody on that. Well, everybody, that's the end of the show here. Of course, glad to have you be here. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on X, please do the same there. Come here, join the community, and do the same, and hit that like button or do it over there. It doesn't matter to me. I appreciate it no matter what. And before we get out of here, everybody, we haven't watched this in a while. I saw this, so we're gonna end this show with the oldie here.
So with that in mind, and the rushing battle, like who do I trust more to run the football? I think both are probably relatively equally capable at stopping the run. But I think Michigan is more dependable at running the football.
Sam gives it to Jackson, trying to get outside. Oh, nice stutter step. Jackson with a burst. Go! Jackson out of bounds at the Michigan 5.
Because this is a perfect situation for us. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. Perfect conditions to do what we want to do. They've got two of the most talented wide receivers that they ever had, even though, that usually doesn't make a difference for Michigan.
Sand splits out of the pocket. Looks back. Down the field. Tate. Touchdown. Taylor. Home run hitter. Sand. Lines up.
Doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Like, what the fuck? Pass the ball. Fuck, pass the ball. Stop this run.
And Cluster looking to get outside. He will not. Great pursuit by the Ohio State defense.
Caleb Downs, right? They got the greatest safety in the history of college football. Caleb Downs. Oh, my God. But he's 0-2. You don't see nothing special, you fucking bozo. You 0-2. You...
Underwood on 3rd and long. And it's caught. But Caleb Downs.
It's going to be a dogfight. I got Michigan covering and winning as well. So.
And as always, OH, IO.